everybody, it is Professor J from Sidescape Gaming. How's everyone doing today? Thanks for stopping by the channel and checking out today's video. And as you can tell, it is a very busy garage in Car Mechanic Simulator 2018. We're going to be checking out the 1965 Pontiac GTO, and this was created by Fulysic. I hope I'm not butchering that name, but they're a fairly active member of the community with all sorts of creations, and this one in particular is actually way up in the popular side of things. So we're going to be checking this one out, and right now I can tell you it's a very busy garage for the reason that there's 4 variations of this car. So this is new to me. I haven't done one of these yet before where there's different types of the car, not just the body parts. So right now I got 2 stock cars in this garage. There's also a gasser and 2 race cars. Now for me, I only found 1 race car with the V8 engine in it, but there is an R6 out there as well. But that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to get our hands dirty and checking these out. So let's get right into it. So to start off about this car, I do want to say that all the variations were fairly easy to work with as we're staring at this beautiful V8 supercharged engine. Yes, a lot of modifications on that one. But the first thing that we probably noticed at the beginning of the video is that we had like frames of the car, just shell-less frames, and that could be a little intimidating as you're wondering what's going on there. And that is because a lot of the body parts of this car are big, all right, but they are labeled very well in the actual store, I guess the body shop store for the car. So the creator did a very good job there. It's not so intimidating, and I found it very easy to work with in removing the parts and then throwing them back in and knowing which one's which. So there was no problems there. All the engines were easy to work with, basic engines, a lot of fun there. The only thing I do have question marks about, and we'll get into that in the other clips and showing you all the cars and variations, was the GTO gasser, and that had some question marks here. We're going to look at it together, and maybe you can tell me down in the comments below why this was done. But we're going to look at all the cars and see what we found. Like I said, they're all looking good, except maybe one has some question marks, maybe a laugh or two. But let's check those out right now. To start off, we're going to be looking at the stock GTO, and I do want to say, spoiler alert, I have a garage full of restored cars here, so we're going to actually be taking a look at them now in this video than other videos where I've tried to save a little bit of that. But straight away, as you can see, very flawless engine, except we got a little bit of the exhaust going into the crossmember, but that doesn't bother me. This is still a great car, and as you can tell, yes, a little bit more shinier parts in the exhaust because we did modify this one up a little bit with the aftermarket parts. But it's still a great car, looks great, no problems whatsoever. All the parts flawless, fit, no gaps, no nothing. And I do want to say that, yeah, we'll take a look at this one. This one has some aftermarket parts. But the one thing I did want to say is we buying this car for like 20 grand and then selling it for 40. That kind of hurts the pocket a little bit. Not too much profit to be made. Next car we're going to be moving over to is the Racer. And I really enjoyed this car. I did not put any modded aftermarket parts in it. I just rebuilt the engine as is. And it looks great. No problems. I see a little bit of the exhaust going into crossmember, but that doesn't bother me, and I don't even find that to be a big deal anymore. And as we go down the car a little bit, we do have the lift kind of going into the exhaust a little bit, but that doesn't bother me either. That's just the way the game works, and you got to work with what you got to work with. But this car was really great. Looks great. I love the body parts because I did use the racer parts on it. Kind of stuck to what the cars were. And as you can see here, we got a little back bumper that has an in case here for the fuel tank, but it was still easy to access, even though we got this like white box that's surrounding you. And you can find the parts really easy, take apart, put back in. So no problems there. The problems kind of arise right here, and I was thinking this was going to be my favorite. That was the gasser, but I'm not too sure what's going on with this front end, as there seems to be some confusion. I'm not sure. I'd really like to ask what the thought process here was, as we got some parts here in the front suspension that actually belong in the rear. So I'm not too sure why or what the reasoning was behind this. I'm not a creator of cars. I just sort of like playing a game and taking a look at mods, but I'm not too sure what's going on here. As you can see, the exhaust sort of ends right here at the front sections too, so I'm not too sure why that didn't continue all the way down. Like, to me, it looks like a little bit of an unfinished car. The back end is fine, your very basic setup that you'd find in most muscle cars, but the front I have questions about, and we'll get into some clips here on showing you what is happening with the front, all right? Taking a closer look at the gasser's front end, as you can see, we are actually looking at the front end, and we got some rear knuckle housing here to start off. So we'll throw those in there just to show you that these are the parts that are in the front end suspension. On the other side, same thing. It's all the rear housing knuckles. I'm not really sure what the theory is here, what the thought was. I'm probably going to try to ask and figure it out. As you hear, we're going to put on some rear axles now to add to the front of the car. And there's no suspension. There's no springs, there's not any of that, so no shock absorbers. So I'm really curious. Maybe this car is unfinished, I'm not sure. Maybe it was just finished up fast. Maybe there's a reason, maybe because it's the horsepower in the car that has too much for the front end to handle. I'm not too sure. And one other thing I do want to point out is the back here. I am a front end guy, front to end kind of worker. I like to work on my front end, take it all apart, rebuild it, put it all back together, and then go to the back. But when I started doing that for this car, I got stuck trying to take this part off because it wanted me to take off the front ends because those are part of the rear. So the one little thing to point out there, it kind of got me frustrated as I had to go back to the front and tear that all apart just to get the back off. So something to keep in mind. So now we're going to look at the good stuff, and that starts off with the body. As you can see here, we're just taking a look at the wide variety of body parts you can use. And I do want to say again, they are very easy to use. Some of them look big, and they are big, but they are easy to remove and use and not get lost in trying to figure out where they all go in the body. And as well as all these parts, for example, if you have the race car lights, you can actually put those on the stock GTO. There's no limits to what you can do here. And now we're just going to take a look at these beautiful cars and the different variations we got going on. And that's the other reason why I do want to recommend this car in particular if you want to go grab it from the Steam Workshop, is because it looks beautiful. All the cars. Now, if you can just put aside the gasser and maybe some of that front end stuff, these cars are easy to work with. The engines were great. They looked beautiful. The body parts are really easy to use. The only downside I could say is, maybe it's because I found so many with high mileage on them, is that they don't resell for very much once you restore them. You know, you're in the auction house, you buy one for 20, you throw in 10 grand, we'll say, just to be safe, and you're only flipping it for maybe $45,000 to $50,000. So just keep that in mind. This is more of a collector car, so if you find one, you might want to keep it in your parking lot just to have, because it is a nice one and it looks great. Look at this one. This is one of my favorites right here, the Racer. So take a look at this one. It is in the Steam Workshop, the 1965 Pontiac GTO, and this is my first time working with all these variations, and I have to say, thumbs up, good job. So let's get to the ending of this video. To start off with the finisher here, I do want to say credit to Fulysic for making this car. It was fantastic to work with. I actually did enjoy it a lot, and then this was my very first variation car download where there's different variations of it, and I did enjoy that. Do have question marks about the gasser in the front end there, but the engine really makes up with it. The supercharger V8, a lot of modifications went into that engine, and I really enjoyed that aspect as well. And the looks right now, I gotta say, top notch inside and out, and the way it was really easy to work with the body and the engines. So right away, I got to give my recommendation for this car. Check it out in the Steam Workshop. It was really enjoyable. And the only down parts I could say is, you know, if you're buying it from the auction house, you're probably going to pay $20,000-$25,000, and the resale value on these things were only going for about $50. So it's up to you. I only found mine mostly in the barnyards, where I was paying 20 G's, or as you saw in the scrap yards, and paying next to nothing. So a lot of fun there. And now it is time to say goodbye, everyone. So this is Professor J signing off from Sidescape Gaming, saying, hey, if you're new to the channel, don't be shy, hit that subscribe button. And I look forward to talking to everyone in the future in our next video. Take care, everyone.